What is up, everybody? Chad here for yet another video on the Tacoma. This one is going to be a quick one, but we are going to get right into it. I'm crawling underneath on the driver's side specifically because we have obviously two drive shafts that are going to be in the Tacoma on the 4x4 models. Transfer case here and drive shaft going to the front is going to be on the driver's side. It's a driver's side drop, and it is going to the forward wheels where that front differential is. But today we are talking about how you can grease the joints here on the Tacoma. In particular, what you see right here, that silver piece, is the little connection, the Zerk as some people call it, where you can hook any sort of grease gun up to it to actually get your driveline grease. So I don't know if you guys can tell in this image here, but there is a little bit of dark coloration around here, and that is from when I have previously, and by previously I mean April of this year, that is when I had gone through and actually done all the Zerks on the drive shaft. So what you do is when you get underneath of your vehicle, you will see these on each of the points where obviously the drive shaft splits into more than one part. So in particular, on the drive shaft going to the rear differential, you have one right here, and then you come down the drive shaft and you will have one right here at your carrier bearing, and then you go all the way back, and your final one is going to be there at the connection at the third member. So coming back up to the front, we're gonna look at the front differential now. I had to bring my flashlight out for this one, but you're looking at the flange where this hooks up to the very back of the front differential. Obviously this is the drive shaft that comes out of the transfer case on the Tacoma. I do have my flashlight out here so we can see a little bit better, but the connection for this one in particular at this orientation is pointed up. But one thing that you can do if you're not in 4x4, and I'm gonna set my flashlight down because I do need my hand for this, so I'm gonna set it right here, but if you grab the drive shaft, you can just twist it, and then bringing my flashlight back, you can see that you have the connection right there, and you'll be able to hook up your grease gun to that, pump that full of brand new grease. That's going to be good for this. In particular, I use a I believe it is a Lucas formula, the red and tacky stuff that you get, and these are Spicer universal joints that do come standard on the drive shafts here. So the one that's going to be a real bit of a pain to get to is going to be the one that's right back here. So you can see where the joint is. Let me get the flashlight oriented a little bit better. So you can see that the connection from the transfer case for the front drive shaft is right there. You're going to have to kind of bend the tube around a little bit to get there, but it is possible. Sometimes it is going to be a little bit easier if I shimmy back here a little bit. You do have these bolts that kind of have this heat shield that it wraps up and above the exhaust. As you can see, it obviously gets hit down here because this is the lower portion of the exhaust, but when you do unhook that, you have much better access to it. That is what I had done back in April. So looking there, it is clear that you can't really get there without removing it, but if you do, it makes the job a lot easier. One thing to note, when you are doing this on your Tacoma, it's going to be a bit of a mess. You're going to be pushing out a lot of the old dirty grease that has been somewhat exposed. It will be black, but basically the procedure goes is that when you continue to pump it, whichever type of pump that you have, I personally have purchased a manual pump that came from Advanced Auto Parts when I had done that back in April. It was an easy job. It took a little bit, and there was definitely a lot of cleanup that was necessary. I had a lot of rags, and I definitely used some brake clean at the time, but it's not uncommon for you to drive around, and then once you have driven, obviously the drive shafts will spin, particularly the rear one if you have it in two-wheel drive mode. And if you get underneath the truck at that point, you will see some grease that has been slung. But on these Tacomas in particular, it's not such a bad thing because it helps things not rust out. So there's a little Toyota humor for you. One interesting thing about these Tacomas is that after talking with some subscribers and some other friends of the channel and friends in general that have Tacomas, specifically the third gen ones, not all of them have this. Some of them have completely sealed units that aren't actually serviceable at all, so at some point you will just have to replace them when they go bad. Particularly, from what the best I can tell, the access cab and the double cab short bed Tacomas have non-serviceable U-joints, but for whatever reason the double cab long bed ones have serviceable ones. Now, I don't know if that is consistent with every single model of that particular configuration. However, from best I can tell, that is the current situation. But that is the simple answer that I can give at this moment. There's no specific literature that I've been able to find from Toyota or Mike Swears or any of the engineers from Toyota. They have not said specifically whether or not that is something that is only on some models, whether it was California, like Baja California model, or if it was a Texas model. So if you don't have any, if you just climb underneath your truck on your 4x4 or two-wheel drive model Tacoma, if you don't have any of those Zerks on there, then you just simply have a sealed, non-serviceable U-joint. And then, so that is the short answer for what could potentially be a much longer answer from an engineer. So that wraps it up for this video, you all. If you do have any questions, you know where to leave them, and if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please do consider doing so. We have content that comes out every single week, and in particular this Tacoma will be making a trip here in the coming weeks, so do stay tuned for some information about that. We're going to check out part of North Carolina that we have not been to in a while, and I'm very excited to get this on the trail, see how it does, and enjoy a nice weekend getaway. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a fantastic week, everybody, and I'll catch you next time. I am not old by any means, but this never gets easier.